well.
I gotta ask James, how does the missus like clean shaven James? Because usually that's really the determining factor a lot of times. If wifey's like, yo, I like the beard, keep the beard, then the beard stays. If she's like, yo, cut that thing off, and then it's gone.
You know what? Like when we were young, I had a goatee for like 12 years and never shaved at all, and she was fine with it. Then I shaved and she was fine with it. Then I grew it back and I told her I was going to shave it and she's fine with it. She's like, either way, I don't care. She's fine either way. It definitely like it makes me feel younger. That's for sure when I shave. Just because it's all like white now. Like I get all the white hairs in there.
It's
Um,
distinguished.
Yeah.
That's what
Silver
it's
fox.
distinguished.
distinguished. Yeah.
Yeah, there's gonna come a point where I go like all of a sudden I'll be just completely white. And people are like, wait, what happened?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I was aging this entire time I was covering this team, just like the rest of you. I was aging and sometimes in dog years from this team. But
Let's get you to
yeah,
the playoffs before you get too
yeah.
silver and too white, James.
That I hope so, man. It's been a long stretch. This is again, year 13, and you guys had it figured out, right? 240 games under 500 over my
Well,
all my years. Yeah, so I'm hoping we get this continuation of goodness because it's been fun.
Well, let's dive into tonight's game, Hammer. By the way, we've got tickets to see the Kings coming up December 23rd in about 20 minutes or so. Are you of the belief that the Kings can win they'd have the opportunity to win every game that they play now?
Pretty close. There might be one or two teams out there, one of those teams being the team they face tonight, the Milwaukee Bucks, that it's just a really tough matchup. Like, how do you slow, like, what are the most incredible, like, physically gifted players that anyone has ever seen?
Mhm.
So, like, there will be an issue there. But at the same time, like, look, this team just kind of has that feel, right? Where it doesn't matter who's in front of them. They're going to go out there and give it their all, and whatever happens, happens. And most nights it feels like good things happen. The fact that they're 4 games under 500. I was asking Sean just a few minutes ago on the Kings Beat podcast if like could he remember a time where the Kings were 5 games over 500 during the time that we've covered the team, and he goes back, like to the good times. But during my stretch, I don't know. Maybe one other time they're 5 games over 500, but I don't remember when it was, and it feels like it's been a long, long, long time. We might need Will Z for that.
Right. I mean, James, this team is 4 games right now over 500. The number 4 seed in the Western Conference. I know a lot of people like to be like, it's still early to look at the standings or whatever, but I mean, they're there. They've played themselves there. I've been kind of peeping the schedule, or excuse me, the standings the last week or so, and this may end tonight. But they're like one of the last teams in the league to not have double digit losses. It's like 5 of them,
No.
and the Kings are
Yeah.
one of them,
Yeah.
right?
Oh.
Go ahead.
No, I mean that's incredible. That's a great stat. I'd also say this, like this is one of the worst road trips you're going to run into. It's a buzzsaw, and this could like kill a little bit of momentum, but I don't know. This team is riding high, but if they go 1-5 on this road trip, they come back at 500 with 11 of their next 13 games at home where they've been excellent against plenty of plenty of teams that they can beat. Plenty. So yeah, it's pretty like positive. The vibe going around here is pretty positive.
Wow.
Last time they were 5 games over 500 was April 18th, 2006.
Wow.
So no, I've never covered a team that was 5 games over 500.
Wow.
Goodness gracious, man. You noted this. You talked about Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis is, for some reason, and I guess because it's early and it's really noisy regarding Jason Tatum, and rightfully so. It's the best team in the league. Luka Doncic, he's the league's darling. Giannis is having another MVP caliber year. Who's going to match up against him tonight? KZ Okpala playing 40 minutes against Giannis tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I think the crazy thing is, what do you do if you're the Kings? Do you start Keegan Murray on on Giannis? Do you start? I guess what you would do is probably put Harrison Barnes on him to start. I don't know what you do. Like it's one of those. He's an anomaly, and he's so incredibly gifted. But I guess the other thing you can do is just clog the lane, make them beat you from the outside. If they can prove that they can beat you from the outside, then make some adjustments. But it's not. I mean, they used to be a great 3-point shooting team. They probably still are pretty solid. I haven't looked at the numbers, but if you're the Kings, this is one of those matchups that's tough. And what you have to do is you have to make the matchup on your end tough too. You have to make them work and make them think, "Oh, great, how are we going to match up against this team?" And I'm not sure how the Kings are going to do that. But that's the NBA schedule. You got to go out there and play all 82.
James, as far as this game goes tonight, I mentioned earlier, I think you start Sabonis on Giannis, which is maybe a little dangerous because you may get Sabonis in foul trouble. But Giannis
Sabonis breathes on Giannis, he'll get in foul trouble.
Seriously.
Jesus.
Can't breathe on Mike. It would be a foul. But
they committed a foul in 3 years. When's the last time he ever fouled out of a game? I don't think he ever fouled out of a game.
I'm telling you, I don't know about that airtime.
But, we're going to get our airtime references in. There's one thing for sure about D-Lo and KC. We're going to get our airtime references in.
But I said start Sabonis on Giannis because Giannis tends to play a little closer to the basket. He may pull it out to 17 feet, maybe a three here or there. But if you got Giannis shooting threes, that's what you want. And I would put either Keegan or Harrison on Brook Lopez because Brook Lopez hangs around the perimeter like he's a guard, even though he is a 7-footer. Now, you may have some issues with the offensive rebounding, but, I mean, I don't think you want it the other way. Like, I don't know if you want Keegan guarding Giannis and Harrison Barnes guarding Giannis because then number one, you got Sabonis pulled out away from the basket trying to make sure he gets out there to Brook Lopez, and he's away from the boards and things of that nature. And, yeah, it's just I think it'd be better if you put Sabonis on Giannis, let's just say Keegan on you might go Harrison Barnes because they might put Keegan on Middleton, but go Barnes or Keegan on Brook Lopez.
Yeah, like pick your poison. Like, what are you gonna do? And the thing is, to flip it, they're so good defensively. Like each of those players.
Yeah.
Middleton's coming back from injury, but Drew Holiday is one of the most elite defenders you're gonna find. And he's ambidextrous, and he's just so tough. Like overall, you mix him with Giannis, and just the length of that team. And Brook Lopez is one of those guys that, like Sabonis, typically the big guys that can, the lightweight guys, he does really well with. The big guys like this, not so much. So I think this is one of those just really bad matchup games, and you got to run. You mentioned the offensive rebounding. This also pits like the two best defensive rebounding teams in the league against each other. So the Bucks, you only get one shot. You're not getting a bunch of second chance points. You're not getting a bunch of long rebounds. This is one of those games where you need to be efficient on both ends of the floor, and then just hope that number one, they miss shots, and number two, that you make shots. You go out there and do what you've done all season. Get to the basket, shoot your three ball at a high clip, and maybe you got a shot. This is not a game where I think De'Aaron Fox is going to break out and have a 35-point game, just because he's going up against Holiday and he's going to stymie what they do. And they have players that can really take away some of the key aspects of what the Kings are trying to do on the court.
Well, you mentioned De'Aaron. Like at some point, though, I think it's 6 games now that he scored less than 20 or 20 points or less, with the high, I think, being 20. At some point, you want him to get going again offensively, right? They're 3-3 in those games. I don't think anyone's upset about the way that they've been playing. But at some point, you do want to get him going again somehow, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, look, I thought the first 3 games, I think we can kind of break the 3 games up into, the 3 losses. I thought he looked beat up and physically he wasn't right. I think the last 3 games, I've kind of felt like
he didn't look good for some of the Indiana game too, but something hit him where he got fired up. But he was the stuff you're talking about in those first 3 games, he was moving that same way and against Indiana, and then he wasn't. It's like whatever he had, he seemed to have gotten over it quick, and he got cooking.
Yeah, yeah. I think that like physically he's feeling better now. He looks like he's feeling better. But I think so many guys have stepped up that he's trying to just integrate himself back in and not trying to just make it all about him. And there will come a game or two on this trip where he needs to be just wow. And the Kings need to know that he's got that in him right now. Like they know he's got it in him because they've watched it all the first 15 games of the season. But the last 6, 7 games, like there's been something a little off. So he needs to dig deep. He needs to find it because if you want to be an all-star, it's not winning one player of the week and being nominated 5 times early in the season and then going kind of quiet for 2 weeks. That's not the way it goes. You have to continue to pace at this similar clip. You got to put up numbers, and that's the name of the game. It's the old chicks dig the long ball thing. If you're not scoring, you're not going to get the notoriety that you were before.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying force it, but he needs to be a guy who makes life easier for the players around him by scoring when he's called upon.
And this is a thing that we talked about a number of different times with De'Aaron, and he's had a great start to the season, not changing that or taking that away. But these are the things that we talk about where if you're an all-star caliber player, if you're an all not caliber player, but if you're an all-star, a literal all-star player, hey, your bare minimum is 22.
Mm.
You go to a game, you're getting 22 tonight. We know that. I may be hot and I can go for 35 or whatever the case may be. But even if I'm not hot and my shot is off, now this is no fault of his, but I'm getting to the line 12 times, and I'm going 10 of 12 from the free throw line. And that's how I'm getting my 22. But all these guys that we talk about, the Dames, the Stephs, Ja now, all these point guards, Luca, they getting 22. And that's kind of what we talked about with De'Aaron for a little bit. It can't be 14. You know what I mean? Especially now going against these top teams on the road. They're going to need him to bring that aggressiveness back in there.
Yeah, I would say the one difference with Fox is that number one, like the players around him right now are playing better than a lot of the players that are around the teams that you talked about. So like if I look at Jaw, like Desmond Bain has been out. So he doesn't have that huge number two score alongside him. The Kings just have like 5 or 6 guys that can pop off for 30. And they are getting major contributions from everybody. What did they have the game where like 9 players, the 9 core players, 8 of them were in double figures, or
Mhm.
7 were in double figures, one had 9, right?
Davion.
So yeah, but like the point is though that like he doesn't have to be that guy every single night for his team to have a chance. If Steph isn't Steph right now, that team's losing by 20. If Jaw isn't Jaw, that team is losing by at least 10. Like that's kind of what we're looking at. Like there's a lot of balance to what the Kings are doing. And while, I'd say Sabonis is about as good a wingman as you're going to have if you're a star in Fox. And he might even be a better player than Fox at this point. I don't know. It's kind of a toss up just because they do different things. But a lot of these other teams don't have that second guy that are stepping up right now. I mean, look at what Luka's got around him. It's not great. And there are plenty of nights where he's putting up 40 or 50 and still losing because they don't have the players around him to be successful all the time. So yeah, I'm not so worried about Fox and his numbers being down a little bit for a stretch here because I know another stretch where he averages 28 to 30 a game for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It's just around the corner, and maybe it'll be on this 6 game road trip, but maybe he starts building some momentum in a place like New York where everyone loves to play in New York, and maybe he carries that into the game against Cleveland like he did last time, and you start to see this thing snowball a little bit.
Can anyone get Fox going besides De'Aaron?
Yeah, they're not running a bunch of plays for him either. I think
Mm.
their concern is to try to get Keegan Murray functional, to get Harrison Barnes going. Kevin Herter, lost his fastball all of a sudden. Can you get him going? And so I think the last thing that Mike Brown is worried about is whether De'Aaron Fox can go get 30. I just don't think he's worried about it, and I don't think he's calling his number a bunch. And Fox is still engaged. He's still playing really, really good defense. It's just what matters more, De'Aaron Fox making an All-Star team, or or De'Aaron Fox putting up 25 a game, or the team making it to the playoffs. And I think Fox and Brown and everyone else are going to say, like, look, the team goal, it goes well beyond what one player's goal is. And while they want to support Fox, they know that if they're winning, Fox and Sabonis both will have opportunities to potentially make an All-Star team. You just have to keep winning, and all those things will take care of themselves.
Yeah. And like I said, I don't want to take away from the way he's played all year. He's playing fine. He's doing great. He's a little banged up, a little sick. That caused a little bit of a stunt into his season, but he's having a damn good season so far. So don't want to take away from that. But
there's only one ball, Kenny.
There is. Yeah.
Like look at this team. There's only one ball. Like how does everyone, feed off of how does everyone eat? And it's not easy. And so sometimes that means Fox needs to take a step back and make sure everyone else is going, and then push forward together.
Speaking of guys,
if you're in the desert, Kenny will sell you a steak.
And you'll get it. If you're in the desert, who will sell you a steak and you won't even be able to close the deal is Farhan Zaidi. He'll try and sell you a gourmet dinner if you're in the desert, or you're down the street and you're just starving. You'd be like, nah, I'll pass. Farhan Zaidi couldn't sell water to a well.
Now the whale. That makes more sense than the homeless guy. Why would the whale need to buy water?
No, water to a well. Like a
well. I thought you said
not a whale.
Why would the well buy water? Isn't the well supposed to have water in it?
Sell water to a well. I sell fire. What do you say?
Why don't you sell the water to the guy in the desert? That's just the analogy. It's just out there for you. You've used each, and you just won't go for it. The guy in the desert's probably thirsty.
Hey, man, you can sell fire.
And Farhan couldn't even get the guy in the desert who's dying of thirst some water.
Couldn't. Absolutely couldn't. And neither could
guy in the desert's going to use the ocean for leverage, and
there it is. Boom. You lost him. You lost him.
Come on. Been a day, Hammer. Been a day.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that, Casey. Sorry your team lost their star.
What's new? What's new? It happens all the time.
My team doesn't have any stars. They're probably moving to Las Vegas, and they're shopping the only player that resembles a star in Sean Murphy. So you could be an A's fan.
Can't go there.
Yeah.
Can't go there. That reminds me of that song, I Can't Go For That. What couldn't you go for?
No can do.
I can't go for that.
It's Hall & Oates. It's catchy.
He said, I think the official is, I'll do almost anything. I'll do anything that you
But I can't do that.
What is it?
I can't. That's a great question. We need to research this.
Bro, you said you would do anything.
We need to do
I can't do that.
We need to do a dissect episode on what Hall & Oates was talking about when they said, no, can do.
See, that's the one time you guys will have me on the corners of the culture. You'll be, all right, James, we brought you in to dissect Hall & Oates. What exactly is happening? And I'll be like, come on, man, Hall & Oates.
Oh, that's a hell of a latest episode of Corners of the Culture. James Ham here with us. That's tremendous. All right. I'm sorry. Did you have a King's question?
Did you have a question, Kenny?
I did want to say
Talking point.
There is only one basketball to go around, and I'm talking about I want to see De'Aaron Fox do more, shoot the ball more, and that still applies, but I still want him to win. That's the only thing that matters. But speaking of guys that I want to see get more shots, how about a guy that when he does get shots, it seems to make them all the time, and that's Domantas Sabonis. What do you go, like 10 for 11 against the Clippers, and then shot 4 times against was the 4 shot attempt game against the Bulls?
2 for 4. Yeah, it was the triple-double game, so it was 2 for 4.
And it didn't matter. I mean, he had a triple-double. They won the game, so
10-7.
That's all that matters. But dang, it seems like
was it 11, 17, and 10?
17. Crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah.
It seems like you could, there should be once a half. There should be punch 5. Everybody clear out one side, get it to Montes on the block, and let him shoot. You should be able to do that. That should be 4 shots alone, one time a quarter. You got to get like 7 or 8 shots, right?
Yeah, I mean, you want more from every single player, but when you look up and they've dropped like 137 points, like how much more can you want? Like this isn't, it's not playing a video game where, you want to run up the score and you get everyone involved, or you have one guy score 75 points. That's just not what this team is about. What I really, everything that's kind of coming around with this team is to sacrifice. Like who is going to sacrifice for the next man? Who's going to make that extra pass? Who's going to, throw their body in front of a freight train come down the middle of the lane and take a charge? Who's going to accept a role that doesn't feel super comfortable until all of a sudden it does? And that's what we're seeing, like from a guy like Chimezie Metu. Like he looked uncomfortable. He kept doing it. He stayed the course, and all of a sudden he's up to 10 points and 6 to 8 rebounds a game. Like that's what you're hoping that these guys do, that by feeding off each other's ability to like sacrifice for the next man, that you'll create a culture where it doesn't really matter who's scoring on any given night. It's just that, 3 of you guys have to really have a good game, and then after that we can nickel and dime this thing to a victory. And yeah, I think it's really impressive the way that they've all bought in, and I hope it carries through when times get tough, because they're going to get tough. Even on this road trip, they're going to get tough, and you got to figure out, how do we trudge through this? And like back to the Fox thing, can Fox step up when it matters? Can he step up when they have to have somebody who is willing to just flat out cook somebody, just go right at another team and take over a game? Can they get that? Because as of right now, they haven't needed that for like a week, and that's kind of the way this team has been.
2 quick things. I pulled up the lyrics to I Can't Go For That. There's absolutely no explanation as to what Hall & Oates won't do. Like, absolutely. It's very, very vague. You've got the body, now you want my soul. Don't even think about it. Say no go. And then he tells everyone, I'll do anything, but I can't go. Absolutely no explanation.
What
They used to tell us
couldn't do?
They used to tell us songs mean something. Well, what the hell does this mean? I don't understand. We need to get to the bottom of this.
I need to know.
Even when it's harmonized, it still doesn't make any sense. You're like, okay, now there's 2 of you singing the
but
same.
it's catchy.
I
Yeah.
can't go for that.
And what are you two so adamant that you won't do?
No can do now.
Also, we've got Kings tickets. Right now, caller number 3. What's wrong?
Well, look,
tickets.
yeah.
Close
That's my thought too. And then it might involve like,
Close
you
the
want me to
chat.
do what with who?
Close the chat.
Close the
J-Lo, you just killed us.
You guys are juvenile. Grow up. I'm like CM Punk. I work with a bunch of children. 916-909-1320. Caller number 3 right now. We'll send you to see the Sacramento Kings in action December 23rd, Friday, December 23rd, at the Golden One Center. Again, 916-909-1320. Caller number 3, and we will get you all set up.
What if that was the case? And they're like, bro, I got this fire song, bro. I get like something happened to me last night. I said, nah, like I need to turn this into a song.
Yeah, I mean, music back then's a little like I think what's that? Wake me up before you go. That's about how self pleasure.
Oh my!
Yeah, I didn't catch on it till one day. I was like, wait, what? And I pulled up the lyrics and found an article. I was like, oh my!
Is that Wham?
That's Wham. Oh yeah.
Okay, George Michael.
Yeah.
That you were talking about Tweet,
Tweet.
She said that was not what that was about. Oops, there goes
she's
my
lying. Yeah, no, she's lying. That's absolutely what that's about.
said it was.
I heard that song. That's absolutely what that's about. She's lying.
T-Bob's had a song that's
absolutely what it was.
That's what it's about.
Well, let's not even jive down the meaning of red light special. Okay. You know what?
Sacramento Kings are in Milwaukee
This
today.
is pointless. Go to commercial. This is stupid. We all need a second. We all need a minute to grow up. So we're going to step out. We're going to come back. There's a lot more to talk with James Ham about. As a matter of fact, I want to touch on that's if James Ham actually returns to the show. There's a good chance he doesn't. But you mentioned, there could be some tough times ahead. Fox stepping up. I've got some thoughts on that, and I'd like to dive into them. But again, we need to regroup here. We'll come back with more Kings talk here with James Ham on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320.
I'll do anything.
I know we're a little early, but it made sense.
That's funny. We've lost our minds.
Well, I don't know that Jesse sent us to commercial. Did you send us to commercial, Jesse? Did you send? Are we? Wait a second. Are we in commercial? No, you missed us.
What is happening?
I looked over at Jesse. I was like, I think Jesse's on the phone. This is the most ridiculous radio show.
Wait, what's going on? I'm lost.
I sent us to commercial.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Oh, I was telling people they haven't won yet.
I looked over at you. I was like, Jesse does not appear to know that I sent us to commercial a couple minutes early. Yeah, we're going to commercial.
All right, well,
We'll be right back. It's ESPN 1320. Oh, that was amazing. That was amazing. Hey, funny enough, that's not the first time that's happened.
Yeah, because I checked the clock or whatever. I was telling people, like, yeah, we haven't won. So I saw it was 26, so I thought we were good.
The segment got a little sideways. So I was like, let's just start over.
Yeah. I don't even know what happened, but it went sideways.
Damien, did you see this thing where Booker T has announced he's going back to in-ring action?
Okay. I mean, he has a wrestling company, so that's probably it. Either that or he's like a surprise entrant at the Royal Rumble.
Welcome to the Sorry.
Welcome to the King's Beat podcast.
Yeah, we
I'm
just
ESPN 1320 insider James Ham, along with Fox 40's Sean Cunningham.
Yep. Yeah, I'm just making sure I've. Oh yeah, it's up. There we go. Sorry, I'm posting the podcast while we're talking.
All right, commercial. We got time.
Gotta work. There's something I was about to do. I can't remember now.
Game's not till 5 tonight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, 5:00.
Yeah, I never know these things. Make sure this thing's on YouTube. Yeah, we got done just as it was time to jump on with you guys. So I was going through checks while we were early. Let's see. Oh, I think we're ready to go.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to check on.
Oh no, it's no big deal. It's funny. I'm just glad I caught it because we just would have been sitting here doing this. But I just looked over. I was like, I don't think Jesse caught that. No, it's fine. I forgot we had just did the contest, so it's actually my fault.
Are you guys going to Adam Sandler tonight?
Forgot that was happening. No. I don't think I'll hit any of those shows this week.
Yeah, I was not. I like Sean and Brennan are both going. They both had tickets from somewhere. I don't know.
Every time I pull up Apple Pay or a credit card, it just looks at me and says, "Chill, dog."
Just chill, bro.
You don't. Whatever you're about to do, you don't need to do it.
That's funny.
But is it?
What in the world? This is crazy. I don't even know what I'm watching. Did you know Cameron has a sports show? Like I don't know if it's like on a network. It's probably just a YouTube only. But it's like on like a First Take type show.
No, I didn't know
It's
that.
exactly how you would think it would be.
The A's have selected Ryan Noda in the Rule 5 draft.
Let's go.
First baseman who slashed 259, 396 on base. 474 slugging, 25 homers, 20 stolen bases. Not bad. All right. I mean, that's how sad it is when you're an A's fan. They signed a utility guy. It's like, oh, I guess that means you can't afford Chad Pender anymore. Probably.
Is this a Red Sox deal? Is this Yoshida? Is this major?
Yeah, he's the he's I don't want to say the next Otani, but he's that type of signing. Like there was a bid for him.
Yeah,
I don't know.
they
And
got him.
he's going to the Red Sox?
Yeah.
Still doesn't make up for letting Mookie go.
Yeah.
Nothing ever will.
No, nothing. Yeah.
Don't they have an issue with their star guy that they might not be able to get him back?
Bogarts.
It seems like that might happen though. They'll bring him back.
The A's did not lose anyone in the Rule 5 draft, which tells you exactly what their farm system looks like.
Mm.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how many stars you trade away if you don't get anything back. Like, what in the world?
Still really hung up on this. I can't go for that thing.
No.
No can do.
All right.
We've lost our mind today. Hey, look, the podcast.
Live on the Odyssey app, live on twitch.tv/ESPN1320, youtube.com/ESPN1320, live on the radio as well. We are a professional radio station. We're professional broadcasters. For those that might be tuning in for the first time, I promise we've done this for years. And we appreciate you so much for being with us. The Kings tip off in about 90 minutes to start a 6-game road trip in Milwaukee tonight against the Milwaukee Bucks. And James, you just mentioned there could be some tough times ahead, for the Sacramento Kings. And I've wondered if, these wins, particularly over into Indiana, and then how they've been able to build over that weekend road trip, weekend back-to-back, that, maybe they've built some confidence headed into this trip. And you mentioned, as we were talking about De'Aaron Fox and some of the different things that may be ailing him here, will he be able to step up in games that mean a ton for him? And that's one thing that I've been a little bit concerned about, as whether he's playing through some, soreness or playing through an illness, is he was closing games out. I don't want him to forget how to do that. Like, I want him to just slide right back into the motion and be able to, it's that time. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close this one out.
Yeah, like, that's what you need him to, as long as he's there when you need him, I think that's the key. Like, you're going to lose some games here and there. Again, just go back to the 3-game losing streak. He's dinged up and you don't look the same, and the team didn't adjust quickly enough to him being to his struggles. And not only that, but he's the motor that makes everything go. So you start seeing not only him have a bad game, but Harrison Barnes, Kevin Huerter, and Keegan Murray have rough games. The other guys have kind of woken up, except for Huerter, who isn't shooting well. But, like, there's going to come a time when you need Sabonis to be 30 and 20 for 2 weeks. And there's going to come a time where he's going to do that. And then there's going to come another time where you need Kevin Huerter to go back to being the 50% from 3 that he was. All of these little pieces, they'll fit into place. But for right now, it's kind of like 2 guys have a good game, 2 guys don't, 3 guys have an okay game, and you win. There's going to come a time where this team figures it all out and rolls. And we haven't seen it yet, but that's going to be the fun moment in this season where this team just looks unbeatable. And the reason why I think that is because it's just the function of how this team plays, how they share the ball, how close they are, how good they are, like, as a team. Like, they really do have something cooking here, and you just have to, buy your time and wait for that moment where it all comes together for this team, because I think it's going to.
Well, see, and I agree with you, James, but this is where, I feel like, I want De'Aaron to step on the gas a little bit on this road trip, because think about, the way they played on the road in some of these games. You go to the Orlando game, he stepped on the gas. You go to the what was the game? The Lakers game, he stepped on the gas. Yeah. You go to the Memphis game, he stepped on the gas. At home, it's a little easier. Shaq and all these other guys talk about the others. At home, they do their thing. You need your stars on the road, and Sabonis, Fox on this 6-game road trip. Not to say that this team, I love the way everybody's playing, but I'm just thinking about the way, in some of these big road wins and traditionally with the league. Yeah, I'm gonna need Fox and Sabonis to kind of step on the gas a little bit in this 6-game road trip if you want to, come away with these with some wins.
Yeah, I mean, like for an example, like we talk about like how they are at home versus a road. Like Kevin Herter at home shoots 51% from the field. On the road, he shoots 43% from the field. At home, he shoots 44.7% from three. On the road, he shoots 39.4. Like he's a much better player at home. He averages 16.6 on the road. I mean, at home and 14.3 at home. That's just one example where like this is a guy that like really means a lot to your team, but who has found it easier to go, easier trudging at home than on the road. Uh, you've got to be able to package your own energy a lot on the road, especially when you're going to somewhere like Atlanta, where they notoriously don't have a big draw. And it's a big deal to go from, Golden One Center, which has just been absolutely spectacular. The fan base has been so incredible, so noisy, so engaged in the game and what's happening. Whether they're yelling at officials or booing players or like the beam chants or MVP chants for Fox, whatever it might be, like they're so engaged and ready and having a good time, and it's noisy. But man, if you go on the road and you're playing in some of these buildings that aren't like that at all, how do you find that? How do you bring it? And how do you like? That's where Malik Monk keeps coming in handy, where he comes in and just brings a different vibe, and it changes the whole momentum of a game. So that's where I think the one good thing about this 6-game road trip is, again, we can go through, what is it, Milwaukee, Cleveland, New York, Philadelphia, Toronto, and then Detroit. At least 5 of those places are going to be like crazy crowds. Some of it is violent crowds that are yelling nasty things at you. This is if there is one bright, shiny thing about that, is that this road trip does have a lot of really good fan bases that are fully engaged with what's happening with their team. And you should at least be playing, even if it's a negative fan base, you should at least be playing in front of a noisy crowd where you can start to feed off the energy, and sort of what you're doing here in Sacramento, feeding off the energy.
I'm gonna need Keegan to get his road legs under him. That's a guy who seems to have played really well at home and not so much on the road. Well,
Yeah.
all right, big boy, you're 20 games into your NBA season. You're really, really good. Let's get cooking on the road. This is a tough trip to ask you to do it, by the way. You're starting it with a top defensive team in the league. Well, go ahead and get started and be that guy that we've seen so many times at the Golden One Center out here. And what was it called? Deer Park? What's it called?
I think so, Deer Park.
Deer Park, yeah.
All right. Yeah, I mean, with Keegan, like you're going out there with Keegan and you're saying, hey, man, we're either going to have you guard Giannis or we're going to have you guard Middleton. We're not sure which yet. Maybe what we might do is switch you out onto 7'2" Brooke Lopez so you can defend the 3. How do you win in this situation?
Go get a 16 also.
Yeah. And man, you're talking like his home and road splits are crazy. At home, he's averaging 14.7. On the road, he's averaging 7.8 points per game.
Man.
Yeah, I mean, again, like true shooting, 633 at home, 416 on the road. And he's shooting 31.5% from the field. That's true shooting is
warp. Is that the same as
field
that?
goal? It's field goal, 3-point percentage, and free throw percentage kind of blended into one stat.
Okay.
Yeah, he's shooting 31.5% from the field on the road and 24% from 3 on the road versus, really 49.5 and 41.7 at home. Those are numbers, like spectacular numbers for a rookie on the road. He's got to be playable, especially in this 6-game trip here.
And you ask yourself, what do you do if you're Keegan Murray? Keegan's my guy. I'm not trying to say anything towards him, but you hit your shots. Like he has wide open shots that I expect him to make because he's that caliber player that he just is not connecting with right now, even on the road. So let's start with that. If you're open, and you got to knock it down. You got to knock down those wide open shots.
Yeah, and I'll point out too, like in Murray's defense a little bit, the Kings had that 4-game road trip back on, it started on Halloween night. in Charlotte. That's the night when his grandmother had issues.
Mm-hmm.
And so he went from 12 points that game, not knowing what was happening. And then they were on a road trip. So the next game's 7 points, 3 points, 6 points. They went on the road in LA. He had 2 points. Again, that's his stats are going to be skewed by that stretch of games where he just really had some personal stuff going on and fell into like the basic pitfalls of being a rookie and how difficult it is to maintain and how difficult the road is. Again, he's never been on these types of road trips before. He's never had a 6-game road trip at Iowa, and like this is just all new territory for him.
Yeah, you mentioned this a few minutes ago. It's a phrase we've heard so many times. The others, when guys can step up at home, but not necessarily on the road. You hear this brought up a lot during playoff series. The funny thing is, I don't know who the others are for the Kings. Like, because Malik Monk isn't another. Malik Monk isn't an also starring. Like Malik Monk, he's in the opening credits of the TV show.
The main attraction.
Like he's a run. I'd argue Davion is too. Now, maybe if you want to get into a conversation about Chimezie Metu and KZ Okpala or Trey Lyles, like I'd be open to that. But the top 7 feel like they're starring guys in all of this. And so I expect oh man, really need Malik Monk to step on this road. I expect like Malik to be Malik on this road trip, just as he has been at home, just as he's been for most of the season, because he's an extension of that starting lineup to me.
Yeah, this is that moment where everyone has to step up if you're going to have a successful road trip. And again, for me, successful might be 2 and 4 on this trip. Like that might be what successful is. Like the one game that you can point to and say, oh, that's kind of a gimme is Detroit. It's the final game of a 6-game road trip. Like that's a trap game. That's not good at all. I mean, the Toronto game is the second night of a back-to-back. You got to get something against a team like the Knicks. But again, that's a tough place to play. Like this isn't.
It's the Mecca, James. I don't know if you've heard. It's the Mecca.
It's the Mecca. I was watching college basketball last night. One of the kids said that. I love playing here at the Garden, at the biggest arena in the game. It's the Mecca.
I went to All-Star Weekend there. It was fun. I've been inside that building. It's interesting.
I've never been in the Garden. Got to get there.
Yep. So, like, look, this is a moment where the Kings are going to be tested again, and how do they respond? But like, never too high, never too low. Even if they have like a catastrophic 1-5 road trip, find some way to pick up one win. They still come back 500. They still come back with a chance to go right back over 500 in the next handful of games. That's just the way that, we had that moment earlier where it's like, oh man, can they get back to 500?
Yeah.
Like you looked at that road trip coming up and you're like, oh, 6 games, there's no way that they're going to be anywhere, they're scuffling. You're thinking maybe they'll drop below or right at 500 going into that stretch. And then they responded. So there's a resiliency to this team that, it's going to be tested time and time again this year. But this is those moments where it's one of those moments where, like, look, if you want to be this team, you got to step up right now and do it.
We started talking about it a little bit earlier in the show, and we might as well bring it back up with Ham here. And we were going to get into kind of the question that I asked off the air about, this Kings team and where they're at. And we hear James talk about it a lot. Like, they can get that one more piece that'll really solidify them. And I know me personally, I'm looking at the starting lineup, looking at the roster, and I'm like, okay, well, what's the piece? So I'll ask James, like, because I'm not really sure what the piece is that they would be looking to add at this point. I know a lot of people say rim protector and all this other stuff, but it's not a starter. I don't look at that as like a game-changing type.
That feels like
player.
A talking point at this point.
Yeah, like I don't know if they're in the market for that piece. What do you think, James?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be in the market for a couple of additional things. I mean, every team needs more shooting. This team could use another shooter. They can use a rim protector if there's one out there. But that's not something, like, again, it's one thing if you can block shots, another thing if you can block shots and get on an NBA court. So, like, the way that they're doing things right now is like the three extra guys that are in the rotation. So right now, Davion, Chimezi, and KZ, right? And that can change from one night to the next. Trey Lyles could get a shot again. Terrence Davis, if he's healthy, he's questionable with a sore back. But like that group of 5 players, I feel like they're they're finding their place with this roster, and they're finding their place with this roster because for one of the few times in so many years, the top 5 or 7 players are actually good enough. So the secondary players can do a role and not have to do too much. They can just be who they are supposed to be in a game. So, like, I was worried about KZ Okpala early in the season. We had this discussion, and I said, like, look, the Kings just aren't the Philadelphia 76ers, where you can run Matisse Thybulle out there for 30 minutes a game and not worry if he makes a single basket. That's not who the Kings were early in the season. It's who they are now. And so now you can start playing with things like that. You can start tinkering with things like that. And they are getting stuff out of like KZ Okpala. He is coming through with some baskets here and there, but it's because the top 7 guys are playing to a standard that allows you to add other elements into your rotation. If not, you almost need, like, again, if I'm going to look at KZ Okpala versus a guy like Trey Lyles, Trey Lyles is a much better all-around player than KZ Okpala. KZ Okpala is a much better defensive player and can bring a different element to the game. If you need solid and you need balance, you've got Trey Lyles. But when you get to a certain point and you're getting that balance out of everyone else, you can start peppering in individual players that can do something specific. And that's what, again, I think we're seeing out of KZ. It's what we're seeing out of Davion Mitchell. Again, Davion Mitchell, I don't even care what he's shooting now. I don't. I don't even look at it because I watch the impact he's having on the court as a defensive player and the havoc he's causing. And that, again, is because you don't worry if he's going to score because Malik Monk's right next to him is going to put up 20. And that's fine. So Davion needs to hit his shots when he's wide open. But overall, you're still not even worried about that. This team is good enough to withstand a bad shooting night from a 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th option. And as long as they're not doing something crazy like taking 10 or 12 shots.
Your gut right now, and the big day's coming up. I'm already seeing it from the Laker fans. December 15th. Lakers fans are turned up for December 15th like we were last year. As that day approaches, you think this, let's say that's an interpretive word. Let's take guys like Alex Lynn out of the equation. You think this roster stays the same from now through the deadline?
No, I think Monty McNair will continue to be active. If something comes up where something makes a ton of sense, again, like one of those moves was this offseason where if you could have gone out and got a guy like Jeremy Grant, and I was a proponent of not going out and getting Jeremy Grant if that was going to be the thing you did. You had to do multiple things if that's who you were going to bring in. But at this point, like, he makes a lot of sense. He's the type of guy that, but Portland's in it, you're not going to go pry Jeremy Grant from them. So I think that this is a roster that's going to be looking for that type of player. Like, if you had a player archetype, it would be the Jeremy Grant type, but guys that can play. Like, I know a lot of people like jump in and say, go get Bol Bol or go get Mo Bamba. The player has to be good enough to play on a playoff competitive team. And I'm not sure that those guys have proven that they're that yet because they don't have to be. They just get to go out and make mistakes and do whatever they want on a bad team. And it's a lot different, just like Mike Brown said about Keegan Murray versus Paolo Banchero. Like, it's Keegan Murray doesn't get to play through the mistakes. He has to play within the confines of the fact that he's on a team that has playoff and perhaps more aspirations. And there's something that comes with that. So any player that you're going to get, it has to be that type of player. It can't just be some guy that does some skill on a team and the team's no good and he's not really getting much other run. You need somebody that fits in and really does make sense for your team.
James, do you think they would make a deal considering or make a deal that would have them move Keegan Murray to the bench? So what I mean by say, if you get a Jay Crowder, a power forward, that can stretch the floor, and you get him in a deal. And it means, right now, today, he's better than Keegan Murray, not where he's going to be 2 years from now. Do you think they're worried about that at all? Like, we can't yank Keegan in and out of the starting lineup at all?
No, and I'd also say that like most of those trades that you're talking about, the player could also like come off the bench. Like Jay Crowder can come off the bench behind. I mean, he hasn't played all season, so it's going to take him 10, 15 games just to get into shape and get really into the flow and what you're doing and all that stuff. If you were to go make a move like that, maybe down the line it would become a situation, but by that point, like Keegan Murray could have got a sea legs and become like an incredible contributor. But that's not to say that there isn't a trade that's bigger than Jay Crowder that could impact what Keegan Murray means to the team. And I'll keep pointing to this. The fact that the Kings have played Keegan Murray a ton at the small forward spot, what they're doing is opening the door for the future. They're making sure that if they do lose Harrison Barnes in some way, shape, or form, that it's possible that Keegan could be that piece. So you go into the trade, season knowing you need a forward. You don't need a power forward. You don't need a small forward. You need a forward that can hit that can hit the three, that can rebound, and maybe can block some shots. And that's it. All he has to be is a forward, because you got guys who can play multiple positions like Barnes and Murray.
Hammer, I got my money on some Alex Lynn minutes tonight. You think we see more Alex Lynn or more Rashawn Holmes tonight? At the very least, we're seeing one of them.
You think so?
Okay, 6 fouls, baby.
Think we're gonna have foul trouble? Okay, 6 fouls. Okay, yeah, I would say Alex Lynn. He's a better matchup against a big boy like Brook Lopez.
I think you see Rashawn.
Might see both of them.
Right.
Depends on what officiating crew we got.
Well, there's that.
Maybe they'll play together.
If we got the one that hates Sabonis or really hates Sabonis.
The thing that I continue to say with Brook Lopez is, he plays out on the perimeter. And if he gets a situation where, say, I'll just say, sake of argument, Keegan is guarding him. And they're like, oh, Brook's got the mismatch, let's throw him down on the block, get the ball to him with smaller Keegan on him. Good. That's more possessions that Giannis doesn't have the ball. Like, if they want to go down there and say, yeah, we're going to work with Brook Lopez on the block all night long, thank you. I'll take that. So I think I could see where you play Alex Lynn, but I think it's going to be Rashawn Holmes.
Interesting. Yeah, I think Alex Lynn is a more natural matchup against Lopez, because Alex Lynn isn't bad on the perimeter against a big man like that, and he's so long. So yeah, we'll have to see. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting 2 weeks here.
Yeah, I'm gonna need Kevin Huerter. I'm with you. I'm gonna need Kevin Huerter to knock down some of those threes tonight and moving forward.
Step in that time machine, that machine, turn into Kayvon.
We need Kayvon. Come on, man. This is for the cooling you.
Ride the Judge signing. Yeah. He's gonna be a little pumped with Aaron Judge going back to.
I understand he's a Yankees guy.
I'll sacrifice Aaron Judge to the Giants if it means Kevin Huerter brings home a win tonight.
Oh, well, I think it already happened. So
I was going to say that's mighty admirable of you, considering.
Well, I don't want it to be wasted. If he comes out and doesn't have a good game,
like a steak in the desert, or water for the homeless guy. Kenny out here selling stuff to people with no money. Check out the latest episode of the Kings Beat podcast, which posted just moments ago, wherever you get podcasts from. You could hear James, Sean, and Brendan Nunez talk Kings basketball in this upcoming road trip. So, again, check that out. It's on the Odyssey app. It's on iTunes, Spotify. It's wherever you get podcasts from. Also,